Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Looks like we're 1 minute late. Oh, sorry about that. Glad to have you here, though. Do me a favor, will you? Click that like button and subscribe to the channel. If it's your first time watching the program today, we'd love to have you come back here and join us. This show streams live every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. And we'd be glad to have you come back and make some friends. We've got lots of cool people, I'm sure, hanging out in the Rumble chat, so make sure you introduce yourself. We've got really cool mods. One of them's actually hanging out here with me today, so I don't think she's going to be able to moderate the chat because they haven't figured that out on the phone. Joining us live in studio now is the lovely Camelia Peterson. What's up?
Good morning.
How you doing, CJ?
It's always fun if I get to be in studio.
Nice to have you here. We appreciate that very much, CJ, for you coming in here today and joining us live here in Jefferson City, Missouri. It's a cold one here in Missouri today.
I hate winter.
Oh, blow, blow without winter wind. It's it's freezing here in Missouri, but I didn't have to scrape my windows. Did you have to scrape your window? You were parked outside last night.
I just let the defroster run long enough to take care of it. I avoid scraping at all costs.
Oh, you let your car run and warm the globe, the planet. I love how they blame us for like letting our cars idle when you've got Taylor Swift and like Gavin Newsom and all the global elites. I saw some headline the other day, and I didn't read the whole story, so maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But it was like the top
headline reader.
Yeah, it was like the top 1% of everybody in the planet, like the top 1%ers who fly on planes, and like Jeff Bezos's yacht, like their carbon footprint is like more than all of ours combined on the bottom. Right.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it.
But we're the problem because we let our cars idle a little bit this morning to defrost our windshields. Good morning. We're glad and thankful to have you here. If you haven't yet, click like and subscribe. And of course, we'd love to hear from you today. You can text the show anytime, night or day, at 573-319-1586. Again, you can text the show anytime, night or day, at 573-319-1586. I was just telling Camelia, a buddy of mine, new buddy, Brian Parson, texted me last night and was asking about the coffee, and he was saying that he had watched the Wake Up America show, and he loved how optimistic and upbeat it made him feel, because there's just so much doomerism out there, CJ.
Well, I know. I mean, like everybody has to talk about the latest outrage, but nobody ever really has fun with it. Like if you can't laugh at something, it's depressing.
Yes. And sometimes you got to laugh to keep from crying, but I just feel like we do try and keep it light and fun here, even though there is nasty, naughty, dirty news and things that we talk about on this show that would make a woman blush, a grown woman blush. But we try and keep it light and fun, so it's a little bit different. A lot of libertarian podcasts for sure are very like, drug-addled and late nights, kind of like the dirty talk. You know what I mean? We do sometimes drop curse words. We try not to, but we are very different from a lot of shows out there. So
for sure. And as it should be in the morning.
Yes.
In the morning, you should start the day off, with a smile on your face.
Oh, yeah. Somebody just texted into the show this morning already at 573-319-1586. Take a look at this, Camelia. Can you lean over here and see this? Look at this. See what they got? Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. That was designed by me. This is a Calvin Coolidge synthwave canvas. So for those of you who watch the show regularly, all of the graphics and stuff is called synthwave. It's kind of 80s retro style. And I made a really cool Calvin Coolidge wall painting for people who want it from AP for Liberty Shop. And he got his. I think he's the first one we sold, so he loves it. Thanks, AP, he says. You're welcome. Another listener texted in about a misquote regarding Ronald Reagan. Oh, we going to get to that. We gonna get to that.
A mutual friend of ours who's also in radio that tweeted yesterday. He was like, "Thank you so much for giving us this material."
Oh, dude, it's so perfect. It's just like this. It's like written for conservative and libertarian talk. I might as well just go ahead and play it now. Hold on. So this is Education Secretary Miguel Cardona, who is quoting Ronald Reagan. Let's go ahead and pull it up for our listeners so they can hear and see what we're talking about here. Take a listen to this.
We're going to set up follow-up calls with every governor we met with to make sure we're available. As I think it was President Reagan said, we're from the government. We're here to help. There are resources there, there's technical assistance there, and there's a playbook that can support the work you're doing. Count on us as...
That's a good one. That's a good one. What do you think, CJ?
Well,
He's from the government.
that's
He's here to help.
a really rough paraphrase.
Really
Oh my
rough.
God.
Really rough.
Secretary of Education, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. It's so perfect because obviously he needs to go back to
Why
school.
is he teaching in school these days? He's been out for a while. What's
They're,
going on?
they're teaching us that they're from the government and they're here to help. Yes, I don't think that's what Ronald Reagan meant, though, did he?
I don't think so.
No, and I'm going to paraphrase now. I'm going to get it wrong. It's like it's the 9 scariest words in the English language are
Right.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Whoa. No, thank you. No, thank you.
It's amazing.
Yeah, Miguel Cardona, paraphrasing, he's the education secretary. We're from the government and we're here to help. Yeah. Oh, I got it right. The 9 most terrifying things. I was going to say, if somebody's going to definitely text in and be like, it's 7 words or something like that. Austin, go back in school and get your education. Because I mean, I don't know if you've noticed on like Twitter or anything lately, but people are mad at me online.
A little.
People are
think. I
people
wonder,
are
I wonder why
very-
that is.
It's not my fault.
Right.
It's a little bit my fault, but it's not my fault for having my own opinion. I'm allowed to have my opinion on things.
You keep the extra big spoon at home in the closet for the holiday weekends, right?
Yes. Well, here's the funny thing. So I wrote that piece about Ron DeSantis and about how his supporters are being super annoying online and making me dislike the guy and not like the campaign. But I only did that as a response. It wasn't like that came out of nowhere, right? That came because I said I liked Vivek Ramaswamy and thought he did a good job in the debates, and I just started getting battered by DeSantis supporters. I was kind of like, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of insecurity over there, which makes sense.
Sure.
And I explained in the article, I'm like, I know what it's like to be on losing campaigns, and people start lashing out and getting angry. But of course, that makes them angrier. Not my fault.
Right.
It's
Well,
my fault you're losing.
like, I don't think that they understand that behavior like this, like, tells everybody that you're losing. I
Yes.
mean, like, 'cause they're behaving like they're losing. It just makes it worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's the thing. I saw this article yesterday that came out that showed that the GOP is losing a lot of money, right? Like Ronna Romney McDaniel is she's just a cancer. And I mean, I thought Vivek was really brave in calling her out at the debate recently. If anything, these numbers, these fundraising numbers really vindicate what Vivek was saying in the debate, which is what I was
Sure.
praising him for.
Right. I mean, the irony is that Trump is the reason that she's still there. He propped her up, supported her staying in that role. And I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that tell me they are no longer donating to the RNC or to the GOP.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, and this is a story I just saw this morning. Major Trump donors who soured on him after 2020 and January 6th now insist he's their best choice. So Donald Trump and their allies have been ramping up their fundraising efforts with less than 2 efforts to go until the Iowa caucus. But the changing view of big financial backers shows a recognition that because Republican voters are sticking with Trump, he remains a very real contender for the White House. So a lot of these people who were thinking, oh, maybe we could fund Ron DeSantis, and then they kind of started to skitter a little bit and go, oh, well, maybe it's Nikki Haley and things. The donors are starting to throw their hands up and say, hey, we get what we got.
This is a really doomer election. I mean, this feels like everybody's very black pilled because how are we at where we're having two, 80-year-oldish candidates as our primary options? I mean, everybody I talk to, even though if they like Trump or not, they're like, why are we here that these are our options, that we have no better options? But I mean,
listen, I've changed my views, over my lifetime, and of course, in the last 10 years, to see the reality is that Donald Trump is maybe not the best candidate that the Republican Party has ever fielded, but in terms of like the modern times, what we need, it's kind of that old Batman quote. You probably haven't heard this before, but it's like he's not the hero we need, but he's the hero we deserve.
mm-hmm.
We get what we deserve.
Well, that's true. Henry David Thoreau spoke to that you'll get the government that you're prepared to deal with.
To tolerate.
Right,
Yeah.
to tolerate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Why can't we have Javier Milei? Because we don't. You know why? Because we don't deserve him. We
You're
have.
right.
We don't deserve him.
Right.
We haven't earned it.
That's why this is very pessimistic of me. I try not to be this way. I just have a sinking feeling that we're going to lose it no
Next
matter
year.
what next year.
Yeah.
I don't think people are taking it seriously enough. And it's not that, the loudest factions on either side aren't, outraged enough. It's just that the people in the middle are so tired of everything, but it's not hurting bad enough that they have to pick a side. And there's just not somebody that's inspiring. There's nobody with a good plan that is just a great leader.
DeSantis supporters be very angry with you right now.
Well,
He's a man. He's a leader. He's got the plan. They're very angry when you say things like that because he's shown leadership on COVID. He's shown leadership and stuff. Okay, well, I'm not seeing it. Here's the thing. Maybe he is. Maybe I'm just blinded by my love of Vivek Ramaswamy, and I'm just entranced by what's happening in Argentina, and I'm not seeing that DeSantis is this great leader, that I'm missing the ball. I just feel as if I'm not. I feel as if it's just been a really lackluster campaign. He feels awkward out there on the campaign trail, and when you're standing there next to Vivek and he's out there saying, I'm going to cut the federal government by such and such, the one time I actually was kind of like, oh, I got a little excited when I saw DeSantis. The one time was when in the debate, he talked about reining in the Federal Reserve. And I was like, okay, here's a policy issue. Here's a policy issue in which I know that it may be a niche issue. However, for everything people say about, Vivek is just telling you what you want to hear. I don't give a shit. I want to hear what I want to hear. I want to hear that stuff.
One of the headlines yesterday was DeSantis came out in an interview and made the comment that he would like to the 4 departments he wanted to eliminate. And I can't remember all 4. Energy, maybe I think was one. Department of Education, the IRS, and there was one other one. But people want to hear more of that. Mm-hmm. And the thing is I think that the difference between Vivek and DeSantis is that Vivek is a lot more optimistic, and we're going to do this. And there is a hope to how he speaks to people that you do not feel in any of the other candidates.
Do you think am I out of line in saying that it feels as if the DeSantis people are trying to kind of like pawn him off as like a mini Trump, or like a Trump cover band, or like a Trump sort of light or great value Trump in a way? Because it feels like the way that they're running their campaign is very much similar to how if you don't like Trump, you're probably not going to like the way that the DeSantis campaign is being run, because everything that they kind of accuse Donald Trump of being crass and nasty and rude, their supporters online are very nasty, crass, and rude. I mean, they act very much like the people that they claim to be opposing.
I mean, I don't think they're as bad, and I think there is a difference in how their candidates that they're supporting behave, because DeSantis definitely does not behave like that. True. But I think that there's been the whole relationship between the two campaigns. And I think a lot of this comes because in the beginning, I think a lot of people hoped that Trump and DeSantis would somehow work together, which was like a total pipe dream. Mm-hmm. But they also compared DeSantis to Trump in that he was very Trump-like in policy and everything that he did, and being assertive, but without all of the stuff that they didn't like.
Right.
And so I think that, people who support Trump have just really gone after, once they realized that he was really running against him. Yeah. They've gone after them. And I think that the DeSantis supporters have been reactionary. And I think it's starting to feel desperate now. And that affects how they're reacting to
it. I feel that as well. And it's not attractive. It's not attractive, right? Like that's not what we're trying to run on for next year. Because the thing is that if they want to get down in the mud and they want to, it's what's that Mark Twain quote? Never wrestle with a pig, because
you'll both get dirty.
You both get dirty, and the pig enjoys it, right? Right. And I know Trump supporters get mad because we do criticize him. You come on this show and you criticize him all the time. The DeSantis people are like, they assume that like I'm for Trump, and I'm kind of like, how many goddamn times do I have to tell you that I like Vivek Ramaswamy? But then there's this conspiracy theory where it's like the Trump people have said that it's okay to like Vivek Ramaswamy. Like that's in a conspiracy theory, right?
There was, I mean, and I will say in the beginning with Ramaswamy that it did kind of feel like he was sort of running for something with Trump
As
because
a
he,
stalking horse.
right,
Mhm.
because he kept coming out and saying, telling people, like that one time where he told all the candidates they should all get together and meet down in Florida or something in a show of support for Trump, when one of the indictments came out, which, okay, but it was a little too on the
A
nose.
little bit, but you're right. But I will say this, and TJ Roberts made a really good point about this yesterday. I don't know if you heard his interview, where he was saying is that I think the problem with the DeSantis people is that they have bought into the left's attacks on Donald Trump when it comes to these lawsuits against him, and Vivek Ramaswamy has not, because most Republicans see the DOJ as being weaponized against Trump.
Sure.
And I think another case that proves that is the case. Look what they're doing to the mayor of New York City right now, Eric Adams. Did you see how the FBI stopped him on the street and grabbed his cell phone?
Right.
Took his phones, and
Isn't that crazy?
and then now he's being accused of sexual assault just under the statute of limitations, which is like 20 years. And it was like 19 years ago he sexually assaulted this woman. Are you seeing this?
I haven't seen that
Because
part of the story.
he criticized the Biden administration and their handling of the immigration crisis. And listen, Biden may be
his city's having to suffer for it now.
Yes, and so he spoke out about it, and he's been serious about, hey, listen, we're gonna have to talk about cutting services here, and man, you do not talk in New York like that, and you do not say anything unkind about the king because they will come after you. So I think that the weaponization of the DOJ against Eric Adams of New York City is a microcosm of what they're doing to Donald Trump and what they have been doing. So here's the thing. I see these DeSantis supporters online buying, he's going to be in jail and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, where are you going with this, right? Like yesterday, some DeSantis supporter shared, they've been attacking me for being a loser who lost this presidential campaign, and somebody, one of the stories that they shared that was an attack was the fact that Gary threw my gun in the trash, and I was like, so your argument, your attack against me is that you're glad that Gary threw my gun in the garbage, like some deranged leftist, right? So it's kind of like DeSantis supporters have Trump derangement syndrome worse than you do, Camelia. You've got level 2 out of 10. You've got level 2 out of 10 Trump derangement syndrome. DeSantis supporters are they're at a 6, closing in on a 7. And they say they're not going to vote for the Republican nominee next year if it's Donald Trump. I mean, this is never Trump lunacy, and it's like Lincoln Project levels.
So here's the thing. This is why, and I will tell you for all my TDS, whatever.
Yes.
This is why I think that Trump is bad for the country. And I don't think another 4 years would be healthy for us.
Approaching level 3 Trump syndrome. Okay, go ahead.
Because it accelerates this kind of toxic tribalism. Because, we're all tribal to an extent. That's healthy. But this is at a toxic level. And I think that Trump has really accelerated that. And I think everybody gets reactionary. And so usually the reactionary is between, the left and the right. But now it's on the right, and it's really dividing everybody. And I would love, at this point, I would love to see Vivek Ramaswamy get in there, just because I'm so tired of hearing about it. I'm done with all of that stuff.
Here's what I would give you. Here's what I would give you. I would give you this, that yes, that what Trump does is toxic. However, I see it like this. I see it as chemotherapy.
Maybe.
I see it as chemotherapy. I see it as...
Was 4 years of chemotherapy not enough?
Apparently not. No. You know why? Because, and it's the next story that we're going to move on to, the Thomas Jefferson statue being taken down, and this kid who's wearing the tribal paint of the Kansas City Chiefs, who's being accused of blackface. So I think that no, we have not had enough chemotherapy. No, I like what Tim Pool has said on his show about Donald Trump coming back for revenge and being the bull in the china shop and destroying his enemies. Because here's the thing, Donald Trump's enemies are our enemies, Camelia. The people who hate Donald Trump and want to destroy him nearly to a man are not our people, Camelia. The people that Donald Trump wants to destroy, he's not going after Reason Magazine, okay? They're not going after Javier Milei. The Trump people like Javier Milei, largely. Other than like maybe one or two I've seen who are like, oh, he's a WEF plant. But those were conspirators who were they're never going to be on our side anyway. But here's the thing, like Donald Trump's enemies are our enemies. And if he's victorious against them, he takes out a big whopping problem that we've got going on right now. And then when he's done, that's it. He can't run again. Okay. And who's the heir apparent? At this point, I feel like Vivek Ramaswamy is like the closest thing that there is. And if that's the next in line for the MAGA movement, oh, you don't want to like what I'm saying right now, but you kind of do.
Well, here's what I keep thinking is like, that's a big if.
Yeah, well.
And so the thing is, it's kind of like was it Nietzsche that said something about staring into the abyss? And I feel like that's a little what we're doing because, we stare into the abyss and we take that on as our approach. Like eventually do we become what we hate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
So let's move on to this next topic here. I've got a picture of this kid, this little boy. Did you see the picture of him?
I did.
Wearing blackface here. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up here. This is the story started when this guy named Karen J. Phillips, I love that his name's Karen, posted this. He says, for the idiots I mentioned who are treating this as some kind of harmless act, because the other side of his face was painted red, I could make the argument that makes it even worse. Y'all are the ones who hate Mexicans but wear sombreros on Sanko. God, this guy's a moron. Here's his piece in Deadspin. It says, the NFL needs to speak out against the Kansas City Chiefs fan in black face and native headdress. They're doubling up on the racism. Are you going to say anything, Roger Goodell? Right? And then I love that he has the community note down there. It says that the colors of the Kansas City Chiefs are red and black.
Imagine that.
Yeah, the colors on the fan's face are a reference to the team's color, not to races or skin colors. And I love that our friend Olivia Rondeau, she says, "Bro, this kid is like 12."
Right?
Yeah, you idiots are obsessed with calling one racist. But perhaps he was just honoring his favorite team. The kid doesn't know what the hell blackface is. What do you think he is, Al Jolson? He's like, I'm doing the minstrel show. Yeah.
Imagine, making your whole identity going after 12-year-old kids.
Isn't he pathetic? It's so pathetic. It's so pathetic. But here's the thing. It's always a double standard. First of all, I'm not trying to just engage in whataboutism, but I mean, how many leftist Democrats like Jimmy Kimmel and Sarah Silverman and Joy Behar and others that you've seen, they're all doing blackface at their Halloween parties and stuff from like the 1990s and things like, what was the governor blackface? Oh yeah, Governor Northam, remember, of Virginia?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Right. And he was like in a KK. It was like the KKK. He was like shaking hands with the KKK guy with an afro and all this kind of stuff. Like they project. And they see what they want to see. And here's the thing. They got nothing else. They've got nothing else but racial hatred and racial animus. And they wonder why there's a rise of white supremacism, or they wonder why there is a movement, because they push for identity politics. Well, how do you fight identity politics? Well, you fight it fire with fire a lot of times. Right. And so what do you see? Now you see these people out here who, national conservatives who like their primary thing is essentially socialism, but for white people. Right. Yeah, we want redistribution of wealth, but from the minorities to the whites. We want reparations for all of the crimes that the minorities commit against this. How about this? We want reparations, and we're going into the minority communities, and we're going to take every last TV that you stole and redistribute it back to the white people that you stole it from. How's that for reparations? Can I get an amen? Is that racist?
Newton's third law of culture wars.
Maybe stop stealing shit. How's that? Reparations for that. Yes. No, but that's the problem, is that they when you view everything through the lens of race like they do, like this is to them a triggering event. But here's the thing. It's not just the blackface that's part of the problem, right? It's also that native headdress.
Right.
I was talking to my dad about this the other day at Thanksgiving. They're going to come for the Chiefs. How can there not be a Redskins and you're going to let the Chiefs? We were watching this movie called Major League, and I had forgotten that there was a team called the Cleveland Indians.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Oh, they're not.
They're the Cleveland Guardians or some stupid-ish like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the Washington Commanders.
Right.
I know you don't. You don't watch the sports. I don't either. But I'm only interested in
Is it
sports
the
when this stuff
Washington
happens.
team? Wasn't one of the teams going to change their name again because it was like
Maybe
too dull and boring?
they're all. I mean, Washington Commanders and then the Cleveland Guardians.
Okay.
And the Kansas City, are you telling me that they're going to let the Kansas City Chiefs just be the Kansas City Chiefs? My
Commanders and Guardians sounds like a little like toxic masculine-ish or
yeah.
something, don't you think?
So you know my sister's partner Jess,
Uh-huh.
she's native.
Yeah.
She doesn't give a about the Kansas City Chiefs. They go to the Chiefs games all the time. They don't care. They
Well,
don't care.
I think that's probably the one saving grace for the Chiefs is that they're in Missouri.
Well, but I know, but here's the thing. Cleveland is what, Ohio?
Yeah.
So I
Ohio's
mean,
not
that's
doing so good
it's
in some ways
Midwest.
anymore.
Well, people are really hating on Ohio a lot lately. But I feel like there's no way that they're not going to make a move on the Chiefs.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah. Maybe not in my dad's lifetime, like we were saying the other day, but like in our lifetime, like they're probably going to come for it. I wonder if them winning Super Bowls and being like such a powerful, strong team right now kind of like wards that off. Like if they didn't have as much clout as they do now, do you think that they would be
Right. Well, I mean, they're making money.
right?
So they don't need the approval of people who are, of the naysayers.
They're not as vulnerable. Do you think that
Right.
might be part of it?
Sure. I mean, it would make sense.
Yeah. Wonder what our listeners think about that. You can text the show at 573 319 1586. That's 573 319 1586. Quest texted in and he asked, is Karen, Carron, the male of Karen? Yeah. What's funny is that like the actual name Karen and it's like Charon is like the Grim Reaper.
Oh,
It's the name for the Grim Reaper.
okay. I
It's
didn't know that.
death.
Okay.
Or it's the I think it might be pronounced as maybe Sharon, but it's spelled that way. And it's the whenever you cross the river Styx and you put the coin in the hand,
Mhm.
that's the name of the death shadow that brings you across the river Styx. At least from the ancient Greek legends.
Right.
Obviously Jesus says no. But you know, what I really stirred him up the other day. Hey, by the way, just brief little side anecdote here. Is Christianity, is that polytheism or monotheism?
Oh my goodness. We really should not get into that.
Well,
today.
it's not my fault. They were
Not
attacking.
my fault.
They were attacking Vivek Ramaswamy. The DeSantis people were the reason why we got into this the other day, and I was making them so mad, is because they were attacking Vivek Ramaswamy for being a polytheist because he's Hindu, but he has said he believes in one true God. But you get my point. Hold on, let me explain it, and then like tell me if you think that I'm being just purposely malicious here. He says he believes in one true God.
Mm-hmm.
They're accusing him of being a polytheist. Okay. Christians say they believe in one true God, but it's the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. So I'm accusing them of being polytheists, but they claim to believe in one true God. So who's right and who's wrong? Am I off base in my?
So
is it a little too? Is the irony a little thick here?
well,
Is it a little too thick for people to be able to delve deep in the 12-layer bean pie that
I mean, theologians have debated this for hundreds of years.
thousands of years?
Yeah, sure. And the thing is that, when people actually were able to read the Bible for themselves, all of a sudden, they started to see things many different ways. And there are reasons for that.
Mhm.
And in transparency, the faith I was raised in was not Trinitarian.
Mhm.
So kind of used to being called a heretic.
Oh, you were not a Trinitarian?
No.
So what was it? It was that there was one single God?
Yeah, one God. Jesus was the Son, but he wasn't God himself. The Holy
Really?
Spirit was basically the essence of God, not really like a separate entity per se. Although, nobody would I think most of the explanations I was seeing are people trying to explain it to you.
I love it when people try to explain it. They're like, "Well, you aren't a Christian, so you don't know." I'm like, "Bro, you aren't a libertarian, you don't know because you never were a libertarian." But the difference is, I was a Christian and I was raised in this religion, and I know the difference.
Sure.
If people who were never, I could understand. You could say, "Well, you're not a Christian, you don't understand." If I was never a Christian, but I was a Christian, and I do know the tenets of the Trinity and the explanation for it. But if you can say on one hand that Vivek Ramaswamy is not a monotheist because even though he says he believes in one true God, he's a Hindu, and Hindu has many gods.
So I think
Christianity has multiple gods too, by your own definition.
Sure. And this is the thing where I think it might have been Studio 314. I don't know if it was in the chat the other day, or if it was on Twitter or what, but that he made a comment, I think it was him, about something about this is why religion is a very personal thing. And every person has to come to that decision for themselves. And, I can give you, for every theologian that takes one stance on it, I can find you another theologian that will take the opposite. They're all intelligent, highly educated people who know what they're talking about, and they've done all the research, and they still come to different conclusions. And the thing is like, who's to say, there are not those variations within Ramaswamy's faith as well? And if he's decided that he worships one God, then who am I to say that?
Well, there you go. And that was my point.
Right.
That if you can say you are a monotheist and believe in one true God, even though there's a few magical spirits running around out there, then, and by the way, when the 10 Commandments were written, and they said, "Thou shalt have no other God before me," they knew that there were other gods out there. It wasn't like monotheism had taken over at this point. Like 2000 BC, we're talking about here.
There have always been.
It wasn't like, I mean, Jews weren't the only
Sure.
like game in the business these days, right? Monotheism has pretty much taken over most of the world's religions, but 2000 BC, it wasn't that way.
No, not at all.
It was like Jews were like 10,000 people running around in the desert in the Middle East, and then everybody else was worshiping Jupiter and Juno and Thor and Isis and Dionysus and Aphrodite and all of these. And it was like understood. It's like we're all competing, right? And eventually Jews God won, and then Jesus came around and, in zero. I still call it BC, by the way, because I don't care.
I'll tell you that one of the things, because I've always homeschooled my girls, and when we started with Classical Conversations, which is a classical model of education many years ago, and one of the things I think that I don't know why, but it was sort of a revelation to me, is because I'd been raised with biblical history for so long. That was my frame of viewing the world.
Yes.
And so it's not that I didn't learn any other history, but I didn't match them up. And so when we started in this curriculum, there's we learned, there's a whole 13-minute timeline song. And when you start learning all of the history in order and you start looking at the timeline, all of a sudden you start matching up what the biblical events coincided with, secular. It's just it was kind of mind blowing at the time. And it gave me a totally different perspective on a lot of things. I just think a lot of people don't have that.
I agree. All right. So with the reason why, for those who are just tuning in this morning, good morning. The reason we're talking about this is because it's because of Vivek Ramaswamy. I think that's certainly an interesting piece because people are accusing him of being a polytheist, and he says that he believes in one true God. So since everybody's claims for their own religion are equally valid, we have to say, well, then we believe it. He's a monotheist. Anyways, let's talk about something else, shall we? Before we do, though, I want to talk about the Thomas Jefferson statue that was removed from the New York City Hall after 187 years. But before we do, I'd actually like to ask you a favor. Would you mind giving us a review of the delicious coffee that you're drinking, Camelia? Please. Yes.
So
would you mind?
This is the Martha's Mint,
Mm-hmm.
and I really like it. So today was the first time I've tasted it, and so I know that you like it most with the chocolate and the sugar and whatever. But for me in the morning, I'm not a big sweets in the morning kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like it plain.
Mm-hmm.
I could see putting the chocolate and sugar in it in the evening. That would be more of an evening coffee for me.
Mm-hmm.
But the mint is not overwhelming.
That's what I like about it too, because
Right.
I only like flavored coffees if it's an undertone
Yes.
and it doesn't take over the entire taste
Yes.
that you have.
And it definitely is that way.
Yes. So the Martha's Mint coffee is only available until Christmas.
Mm,
So basically, 1 month from
I need to
now,
order
you
some.
won't be able to get it, right? If
Yeah.
you want to get a bag of it, get it now and get it at ap4libertyshop.com. All of our coffee flavors. My buddy called me last night. He's an over the road trucker, Brian. And he was asking about the different coffee and what the different flavors are. We've got light roasts, medium roasts, dark roasts. It just depends, pick your poison. If you want a ton of caffeine, the Jeffersonian Java light roast is what you want. If you like a little bit less caffeine but full flavor, you want the Patriotic Adams's Patriotic Perk. And they make great Christmas gifts. Brian bought like 7 boxes of coffee last night for
That's
his
awesome.
kids in California.
The packaging is really cool.
Thank you. Yes. So they're no longer in the bags like the one that you're seeing on the screen right now. I need to get like the new packaging up there. They come in beautiful designed boxes. They make great gifts for Christmas. So stock up now. If you buy more than 1 bag, the discounts add up. So since he bought 7 bags, he got like the full 12% discount on it. So you save a lot of money when you buy more. And you can do, if you really love the coffee, you can do a subscription, which I highly recommend if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I really would like to support the Wake Up America show and I get coffee for my money. So you can do that by just signing up for the monthly club, which is a great deal because you can, if you buy more than 1 bag on a monthly subscription, you're also getting those savings as well. And you won't run out of my delicious coffee.
So I need to order some of this for my parents.
Yeah.
My dad, well, they're both coffee drinkers, but my dad and I especially, and my dad likes to roast his own coffee beans,
Oh,
but my mom won't let him do that in the house.
that's interesting.
But for Thanksgiving, he texted me before we came down for dinner because they live 500 feet down the hill from us. So, anyway, he was like, "Are you bringing coffee?" And I was like, I can. I was like, "You need some?" He was like, "Well, all we have is Folgers." I was like, "I'm bringing coffee." I think he would really love this.
Yes.
And the one thing too that I've noticed about all of them, including the Martha's Mint, is that it's very smooth.
Yes.
There's no like bitterness. It doesn't taste burnt.
And it doesn't make your stomach feel sour.
Right.
A lot of coffee sometimes, like when I'm done drinking, especially if I haven't eaten food with it, and which is a lot most of the mornings. Well, I do eat some like oatmeal, but a lot of times the coffee will make my stomach feel sour. Not with mine. Mine is an ultra premium, delicious coffee. Check it out at ap4libertyshop.com. That's AP, the number 4, ap4libertyshop.com. All right, we ready to talk. Speaking of Jeffersonian Java, first of all, let me say thank you to our fuddy buddy. Studio 314 says Martha's Brew is nice sippin', has its own sweetness, but with chocolate, it's bomb, says Studio 314. Thank you.
Try that.
Kim McCurry's asking if we have any organic options. We do not yet. We do have more things coming on the timeline for our coffee. Lots of changes coming. So K-Cups is what is next.
Coffee that's not organic.
Yeah. You use like pesticides and stuff.
And you're like, do they though? I don't know. I was having that conversation with somebody the other day. I was like, is there like, I don't know if they do or not.
Yes. Levin214 is checking us on our facts on the year zero. There was no year zero of the Common Era. Thank you. He says we went from year 1 BCE to the year 1 CE. Thank you very much.
Sure. Well, that's what always confuses everybody is like the year 1 is like the preceding year. So you really can't have a year 0.
Yes. In the year of our Lord. In the year of our Lord. Christ the Lord. Christ is risen. 625 people watching. Good morning. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
I'm going to bet that Rumble put us on the front page. Thank you, Michael Zakari. Thank you, Siraj Hashmi. Thank you, Chris Pavlovsky, the CEO of Rumble.com. We appreciate you very much. Thank you for putting us up here. I know for many of you, it's the first time that you're watching us here. We're glad to have you here. I'd love to earn your like on the stream as well as your subscribe. If you click subscribe on the channel, then you can come back and join us here on the Wake Up America show every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central. If you're like, why should I subscribe? Who the hell are you? I'm Austin Peterson. I'm the host of the Wake Up America show. And my guest who's live in studio with me is...
Camellia Peterson.
Are we? Are we?
Not
But we are not
related.
related. She's a Peter's son and I'm a Peter's son, so it's
Yes.
spelled a little differently here. But we'd love to have you come back and join us because we consider ourselves all freedom friends here on the Wake Up America show. Camille even sleeps on my couch when she comes into town, so so we're all friends here, and we'd love to have you come back and join us. Will Run Riot says he does love the new coffee packaging. Yes, there are 666 people watching. I think I know why. We're glad to have you. All right, let's move on to the next topic. Speaking of Thomas Jefferson and Jeffersonian Java, the City Council of New York City had voted a couple of years ago to remove the statue. Of Thomas Jefferson from the council halls, and I couldn't be angrier about something. As a huge Thomas Jefferson fan and a great believer in his philosophy, and as someone who was shaped by his philosophy since I was a young man, the very first book I ever got on any of the founding fathers, I was 8 years old. I was in Washington D.C. I was at the Jefferson Memorial, and I knew from the moment that I saw him and read his words, from the just having been able to read for a few years, that was who I identified with the most, the writer, right? I'm a bit more of a talker than he was, but his writing, because I was so inspired by his words that I'll never forget, Camellia, when I got my first job in politics in 2008. In the mornings, I would drive my beat up old farm truck with my Missouri license plates across the river into this gleaming city, Washington, D.C. And everybody else has got all this money, and I'm this dirt broke activist with my, little Ford Ranger. And I'm driving by the Jefferson Memorial in the mornings on these clear blue spring mornings. And I just, I don't pray, but I would pray to Thomas, right? I would say, Thomas, give me strength to go into this city and do battle with the forces of darkness against big government and for the principles of liberty as espoused by Thomas Jefferson. And to see my fellow Americans, I don't get offended by a lot, okay? Because, I really don't care what most people say, like, religion, politics. But when you come after Thomas Jefferson, you're coming after me. I had to deal with his slavery problem, right? And grapple with this, which obviously slavery is a great evil.
Sure.
There aren't many things that are worse than slavery.
Right.
There are very, very few things that are worse than slavery. Maybe perpetual war. It's hard to think of some things that are worse than slavery. But I will say that there are things that are worse than slavery. And I will say that Thomas Jefferson laid the groundwork for the end of slavery. White people freed the slaves.
Yes.
Yes, white people freed
For
the slaves.
sure.
Yeah, white
Absolutely.
people. We, and slavery was not an exclusively white people institution.
No.
No.
Historically, not at all. It was the African tribes who sold each other into slavery.
There's still slavery in the world today.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah. All over the world.
Yes.
Like it's not exclusive to any continent or any ethnicity.
Yeah. White people overall, as a general rule, as the world population, are not the majority of the world's population.
Oh.
No, they're not. And so one has to wonder why the special hatred for Jefferson. It's not the slavery thing, in my opinion, Camellia. It's that he is an icon, a paragon of greatness for our white people. He is an icon, the architect of Western civilization, white Western civilization, and it is an offense to them, and they hate him because of jealousy. That's my opinion. How would you respond to that?
I mean,
Does that make you uncomfortable?
I think it's an attack on the very foundations of America, like the American principles and values, not in the sense that there were never any mistakes, but they're really tearing down at those institutional values every day. And the thing is that we call this the American experiment for a reason. And it is an experiment, and there have been lots of mistakes made along the way. But I think the difference is that there have always been people who embody the American spirit, who have worked and sacrificed their lives to make those changes for the better. And I think Jefferson was not in favor of slavery.
He was born into it.
He was born into it, and I mean, if he could have abolished it in the Constitution, he would have.
Mm-hmm. He wanted to do it at the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
It was his words that were stricken from the Declaration that were so offensive to the Southern caucuses that they had to take it out of the Declaration. They wanted to free the slaves then. That is probably the best example of a story of politics truly being the art of the possible. Politics is just the art of the possible. What can we actually do? And this is why I get so angry with my libertarian friends, is because Javier Milei isn't even good enough for them.
Right.
Javier Milei doesn't own any goddamn slaves, but he is not. Oh, he's not perfect. I see him being attacked.
I mean, never mind that he's already mentioned that he's shutting down one of the agencies. Was the one on gender and women and something or the other? Was one of those things that's sort of like the DEI type agencies. He's already shutting one down within 90 days or less, something like that. So I mean, he's already doing things, but that's still not good enough. That's more than what we've done.
Oh, well, and here's the thing, too, is that these trash leftists who are removing this statue from the New York City Council, they feel a sense of moral superiority over Thomas Jefferson. But they're wrong. They think that because they don't own slaves and because they know that slavery is wrong and they would never do that, they think that they are morally superior. Well, I'm here to tell you that they're not. You're not. Actually, in my view, the greatness of Jefferson and what he contributed to the world so overshadows the evil that he did in the world. And slavery is a great evil. That legacy is so massive that you will never approach even 1/4, not even an iota of the greatness of Jefferson. These destroyers of statues, these savages, these barbarians must be physically removed. This is what I mean when I say you can dislike Donald Trump all you like, but he is chemotherapy. If he is toxic, as you have stated, Camellia, we need and you say, was 4 years of chemotherapy not enough? No, it was not. No, we need to up the dosage, in my opinion. I think we got a little bit of a diluted dose. I think we need chemotherapy. And that is why I am not soured on Donald Trump running. I am not soured on this. The fact that he very much reminds me of Samson from the Bible. I've said this before, but here's the thing. And if he brings down the temple walls on himself, so be it, as long as he crushes the Philistines alongside him.
You are a little more optimistic that he will do that than I am.
I'm not necessarily. I'm very much a wait and see person, but I will say this. I will say that again, if like that, I love that Bible story of Samson at the end where he prayed to God and said, give me the strength one more time, God, to do what needs to be done and to grab the temple walls and to bring down, was it the temple or was it like the tent? It was like some kind of, I can't remember what it was, but it was, he killed all of his enemies, killed himself.
Right.
But took them all down with him. He's a suicide bomber.
Here's the thing, all of these people in their moral superiority who want to tear down the statues and do all of these things, they are privileged to be able to do that. And they are privileged. They have that privilege because of Jefferson, people like Jefferson. Otherwise, they would not even be in a position to even be thinking about that, let alone doing it, because they would not have that kind of, they wouldn't have that kind of individualism and power to affect anything.
Right. It's and it's fascinating too, because I think about the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, and they want to cancel him too. Like Black Lives Matter activists during the 2 years, the Summer of Love, if you will, where they were destroying Abraham Lincoln's statue as well. When you think about this discussion about reparations, for example, we were joking earlier about how reparations need to go the other way, but libertarians were kind of making fun of me because they hate Abraham Lincoln, and I'm a little bit more neutral on him. But more and more these days, the more I learn about him and study him. But I feel as if the 600,000 that died in the Civil War that blood was enough. White people freed the slaves with their blood. We had to fight and kill our own countrymen. White
Right.
people had to kill white people to free the millions of enslaved Africans in this country.
Sure.
We made them citizens. White people, here's the thing. White men voted to give white women the right to vote.
Boy, look what you guys did.
Yeah.
Is that good judgment or what?
You're welcome. You're welcome. I know not a lot of people think that was a great idea. I think there's a lot of white men who would love to take that vote back.
Only if I can cancel out the votes of all the white men who are out voting terribly.
There's a lot of stupid white men out there voting for Democrats.
Here's the thing, though, is that this is human tendency. We want our heroes to be these perfect people. And the reality is that they are flawed, multifaceted individuals. And we need to be able to embrace that as a whole and accept that people are not perfect, and that people who even believe things that are not good can very often do good things. It is the way it is, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think that whatever this topic is that we're talking about, or maybe it's because you're so damn cute, Camellia has got 1,085 people watching us live this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh my God. You came to the Libertarian Retard podcast. Good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. It's nice to see you here today. We're glad to have you. Thanks for joining us. Would you do me a favor and click the like button and subscribe to the channel here at rumble.com/AP4Liberty? It's so easy. And what we don't want to have happen, we don't want to lose you. We'd love to get you captured. You're in the little area, the fishing area. We've brought you in. Rumble has brought you in. Thank you, rumble.com. We appreciate you for putting us on the front page. And we'd like to cast a wide net this morning. So would you do us a favor? If you like what we're discussing this morning, you get these discussions 5 days a week. The Wake Up America show is a great way to start your day. So click that subscribe button so you don't forget, because I know what'll happen is tomorrow you'll be like, I want to hear from those really funny, weirdo, retard libertarian people again. And if you want to come back and join us, you might have forgotten who we are by that time because you're busy. I get it. Just a real quick click of that like button and subscribe will help us to grow the channel, and you'll be able to find us again tomorrow morning. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm joined in studio by my good friend Camellia Peterson, who is of no relation.
Nope. Good morning.
Yes, yay for the big audience today. And it's climbing. Rumble likes to see that too, when the audience grows like that, which means they'll leave us up on the front page as long as the numbers continue to climb. So we hope that you'll stick around here today because we got lots of great content. I didn't book any other guests today because it's so rare to have Camellia in studio. So we're just going to talk, you and I, about all the news of the day. We can kind of move around to talk about whatever we like. Did you see that our friend Javier Milei is in New York, and that
Yes.
Yeah, he's in Javier Milei, the Argentinian libertarian president-elect, came to New York, and he's converting to Judaism, so he met with the rabbis. Now, I have a really good friend.
I'm sorry, what? Are you serious?
Did you think I was joking?
Yes.
No, I'm serious.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Oh.
So this is going to be a little bit of insider politics here real quick. I'll just try and speed through it so we don't, run people off. But Javier Milei came to meet with what's called the Chabad Jews and rabbis, because he's always talked about how he wants to become Jewish and he wants to convert.
Did not realize that.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating. He's so my kind of libertarian, and I won't get into all the rancor and hatred of the Jews that's been going on with American libertarians because of the foreign policy position. But Argentinian libertarians seem far less morally and ethically compromised on foreign policy than Argentinian libertarians do.
It just fascinates me because he does not fit into anyone's box. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're an anarcho-capitalist.
Yes.
I don't care. He doesn't fit into your box either. And it's just, he is like, every day there's something different about it. People are like, he believes that, he does that, like
Yes.
polyamory.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's all kinds of things. And so I would be fascinated to hear him explain like why he would want to convert to Judaism, because you know that there are reasons and there's something that draws
I don't
him.
know, but
Love to hear that.
But and he's being called a far right Trump-like populist. But here's the thing: if anything, it kind of shows to me that like the coalition of populism on the right can include anarcho-capitalists,
Sure.
minarchists,
Sure.
Trump-like populists. Geert Wilders, did you know who this guy is from the Netherlands? He's like an anti immigration activist
I've been
who
seeing the name.
he may become the next prime minister of the Netherlands, and he's been around for a long time. I think he's even gone to jail because of their speech laws for him saying we need far fewer Muslim immigrants coming to this country and destroying our national culture and things. So he's a part of the far right populist coalition. So you've got anarcho-capitalist libertarians like us, the Javier Milei types, right? You got the Geert Wilders anti-immigration activists, and then you have the Trump right populists, American MAGA Trumpers. Here's the thing. We may not all agree on a whole variety of issues, free trade, immigration, all these kinds of stuff. But this is a powerful coalition that is growing in the world.
It's moving in the right direction.
It is moving in the right direction. And Camellia, just like the founding fathers were not able to end slavery at the Declaration of Independence, you and I are going to have to make some compromises with the Donald Trumps of the world, the Geert Wilders of the world, the Pat Buchanans of the world here in this country. And they're going to have to make compromises with us too. Right, they're going to have to recognize the power of the Javier Milei forces of the world, right? And we get that power, we gain that power by winning elections, by asserting ourselves, because we're the libertarians, right? So and doing shows like this. Chris Spangle the other day, and this is again, I don't want to get too insider baseball. I want to get back to the big news politics, but Chris Spangle said something really nice the other day. He says he thinks this show is really going to be big in the future, and I think he's right. I think that the Wake Up America show is going to grow, and I think that we're going to add more shows, and I think that the AP for Liberty shop is going to get bigger. Steffi and I were talking last night about expanding the shop and doing even more, and expanding our coffee and doing tea and things like that. But we have to, if we want to have a place in the populist coalition, we have got to win elections, and we've got to take our space in the media. We've got to claim our spot.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key too, is like in the culture part of things, in the media and the arts, so important. And the thing is that when you talk about populism, like, we've kind of looked at populism because we think of populism as like Trump populism. And Jack Hunter, that you had on the other day, has talked about this before, that populism itself is not a bad thing. It just means that you're addressing issues that are affecting real people. And the difference is, and I think this is the difference with Milei, is that you have to have populism that is rooted in principle. And his is Trump? Probably not really, which is why it just like goes all over the place. But people like Milei, Ron Paul, those kind of people, that's populism, but it's rooted in principle.
Well, it's an anti-elitism of who we have. I mean, what was the guy, Sohrab Ahmari, was writing that piece the other day. He was so mad about Javier Milei. Like, some of these populists, they're not happy with it because they don't want libertarians like us to be part of the coalition. They don't want Javier Milei to be part of the coalition, right? They're basically, these are socially conservative Democrats is what they're FDR style.
It's authoritarian.
They are authoritarians, but that's their policy views. So they don't want libertarians to be a part of the coalition because we're not authoritarians in that sense. It'll be interesting to see though how Javier Milei actually pulls off, his plan, because he's got a lot of work to get ahead of him. He needs $30 billion to dollarize his country. And the country already owes $40 billion to the IMF or the World Bank. And so the hope is that there's enough dollars in Argentina already. But
we need to start a GoFundMe?
Yeah.
Or an alternative to GoFundMe. We don't want to use
Give, Send, Go.
There you go.
Give, Send, Go. I'm actually, I've been talking to Stephanie about this only lightly, but I have in the back of my mind a plan, because I'm a big fan of, do you like Malbec wine?
Yeah.
That's Argentinian.
Yeah.
if I can scrape together the chinks, and if Javier Milei is successful in passing an economic plan, the problem is that at the moment right now you can import dollars into Argentina, but you cannot export them.
Hmm.
So you could invest all day long, but your investment would have to stay there in Argentina.
Right.
So unless there was some law that passed that changed the ability of investors to come in from around the world, socialists hate that because they'll call this colonization. I would love to take 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 and go to Argentina and invest in a Malbec farm. I would like to invest in a delicious red wine farm down there and bring dollars to Argentina. And I would like to pool that investment with other investors. And I would like to either be the head of a coalition or a part of a coalition that is aimed at bringing investment to Argentina. Now, maybe they don't need more Malbec wine down there because they're having trouble eating. Maybe it's a good idea for us to invest in grocery stores. Maybe it's a good idea for us to invest in gun stores, right? Because now, if they can pass, gun deregulation down there, as he has promised to do. So there's going to be a lot of economic opportunity down there if Javier Milei is successful. And I have Argentinian friends, and I've been communicating with them, and we're going to start a conversation going forward in the next year about what we can do to team up American libertarians and Argentinian libertarians to bring dollars to Argentina.
No, that's cool. And somebody yesterday, there were people that were really concerned because I guess one of the things that Milei is doing while he's here is meeting with Bill Clinton.
Oh yeah,
This
he's meeting.
is really
Well, he has
interesting.
to. He has to. So he has to. He's going to be meeting. Here's the story. Actually, let me pull it up from Argentina. Right, decline. Get this thing out of my face. Argentina's right-wing president-elect to meet with a top Biden advisor. He has no choice but because he wants to realign their foreign policy away from Iran and China
Right,
and
right.
Russia and towards the United States and Canada and the UK, which just goes to show me that he knows who the good guys are. Javier Milei is going to meet with President Biden's national security advisor on Tuesday in Washington. So today, Milei is going to meet with their national security advisor, Jake Sullivan. And the Treasury Department said that Milei's economic policy advisors will also meet with senior Treasury officials on Tuesday. This shit is exciting. This is exciting. Anarcho-capitalists from Argentinian anarcho-capitalists are coming to the United States to talk to our Treasury officials. One can only hope. Maybe there is a God, and I will acknowledge him if they rub off on the Treasury officials. He brings copies of Murray Rothbard to Washington, D.C. That shit would be exciting. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm just in a good mood about it.
So this is something about our current presidential candidates that I just have been disappointed in is that there was no when Milei won, there was no acknowledgement from either Haley or DeSantis.
Oh, see, another thing I don't like. Another thing that bothers me.
That's so disappointing. And I haven't looked in the last, few days to see if either of them ever said anything at all about it. But how can you not say anything about that?
Yeah, no, that bothered me because Vivek was right out of the gate.
Yeah.
He was like in the car and was like, this is amazing. It's exciting. He called him what he was, a libertarian. And so when Javier Milei won, I was watching those Republican presidential candidates to see how they reacted. And I did not hear a peep out of Ron DeSantis' people. And that is a problem. That is a red flag for me.
Big problem.
That is a red flag. Donald Trump called him to congratulate him.
I mean, credit where it's due.
And Mitt Romney said, and we talked about this yesterday, the only people that I'm not comfortable voting for, and this is what my human events piece this week is going to be about, the only people that Romney is not comfortable voting for is Vivek and Trump. Maybe Vivek. And I know it's in part because he's so vindictive, that little shit, that he wants to, it's because Vivek attacked his niece.
Right. I had not realized before a few days ago that they were related. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I knew that they were related, but I didn't know how. I couldn't remember. I didn't know if it was his niece or whatever. But I know that little vindictive Mormon piece of crap from Utah went out there and said, saw that Vivek was criticizing his niece and was like, well, I just think that, we can't. I won't vote for him because he said something unkind about my niece and all this stuff. And I'm just like, you know what? There it is. Their green flag. That's a Vivek green flag right there. And of course it makes Trump look a little better too, I think, by association. But Mitt Romney's non-endorsement is an endorsement for me. And what about you? I mean, let's hear it from the audience. What do you guys think? You're nodding your head.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I totally get that.
Yes. Okay. Well, since the numbers on the show continue to climb, good morning. Thank you. More people are joining us here. It's nice to see. How are you? Click that like button for me, will you? And subscribe to the channel. I'm Austin Peterson, the host of the Wake Up America show. This show streams live every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. These numbers are exciting, isn't it, Camelia? Yes.
Love what Rumble has been doing. Just overall, it's been so good to see, like, this is how the free market works. And for so long, it felt like, all of these startups trying to give competition to the big, social media companies were just not getting any traction, weren't doing it. But Rumble has been doing it right, and it's been exciting to see them grow.
Yeah, they took pity on me when YouTube demonetized my channel a few months ago, and they've been featuring us on the front page and featuring us on the front page and just really giving us a leg up. And I think it's because one, the thumbnails for this show are fire, and and then also two, I think that the content's good, and I hope that our audience today really enjoys it. If so, make sure you do click like and subscribe because we'd love to have you come back and join us. 5-day-a-week talk shows, pretty rare, especially libertarian retard ones like us. And Camelia,
speak for yourself.
Camelia, you're our regular guest, and you're a supporter of the show as well, which I appreciate. Thank you for that. Camelia donates to the show $17.76 a month, and we're grateful for that. If you would like to become a monthly sponsor for the show, just know you get 20% off of the AP for Liberty Shop merchandise store, and it's a great deal because a lot of our merchandise right now it's been selling like hotcakes. Our Die Hard Christmas sweater. Have you seen Die Hard yet? Did I show this to you? The movie?
I can't remember.
You haven't seen. I think it's free on YouTube right now this month. It would be a good one to watch. Okay, yippee-ki-yay. But there's a scene in the movie where he kills one of the terrorists and then writes in blood on his shirt with and then puts a Santa hat on the dead terrorist, and it says, "Now I have a machine gun, ho ho ho." And so I made a sweater that looks like a bloody Christmas sweater, and I ordered one for myself, and I got a Santa hat the other day. So for Christmas this year, I'm going as the dead terrorist. And if you're a monthly supporter to the show, or if you're like a Rumble Rant monthly subscriber as well,
right,
then you get 20% off on items like those. And we sold our Calvin Coolidge mugs like they were going out of style, man. So 20% off Calvin Coolidge mugs and merchandise, which is all exclusive. You can't get them anywhere else. Sometimes people copy my stuff, but that's because I'm amazing and I'm the original, the OG. So make sure you check out the shop, become a monthly subscriber. If you don't want to do it through Rumble, I get it. Head to wakeupamericaShow.com/support. And you can become like a $5 a month subscriber. If you're a $17.76 a month subscriber, there's still time to get on the Christmas card list. You got yours today.
I did.
Cute, right?
It's so neat. Yes.
So all of our $17.76 and above monthly subscribers are on the Peterson family Christmas card list. So, and we're including a little $5 gift card with each of our gift cards for this month. So all of our cards. All right. Let's talk about the news, Camelia. News that we can use. Let's see. What do I have down here? Oh, this is such a good one. Elizabeth Warren applauds the FTC's sandwich shop monopoly probe of Subway acquisitions. So Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts took to X to applaud a federal antitrust probe focused on the potential acquisition of sandwich giant Subway. So Subway announced in August it had reached an agreement to sell the sandwich chain to private equity firm Roark Capital. Good name, Howard Roark. In a deal reportedly worth more than $9 billion. They own sandwich shops like Jimmy John's, which I ate at last night. Very good. Arby's.
Didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah. McAllister's Deli and Schlotsky's. So the FTC is probably them to protect us from a sandwich.
From big sandwich.
I mean, here's the thing. This is an example of how smart people can be stupid as hell. right? Like
They're from the government and they're
they're
here
from.
to help.
But I mean, here's the thing: like Elizabeth Warren, like intellectual, right? It's almost like intellectual is like a word for like the opposite now. You know what I mean? Like it's like, and I know that I mean it's very populist of me here, but it's like the elites have like smarted themselves stupid. You know what I'm saying?
It
Like,
happens. Like
yeah,
it happens, and I think it's because you get your head in. That's all you have your head in, and you have no real world perspective,
Mhm.
and you're in your bubble, and it's not healthy. And you do things like go after big sandwich.
You go after a big sandwich. Okay.
Probably need to be making a sandwich.
Oh, that's sexist. That's misogynist. That's misogynist. You hate women. You hate women. You hate women. God, it's so funny. Elizabeth Warren. I met her once actually. When I was living in Washington D.C. She had just gotten elected as senator of Massachusetts, and I was at a sandwich shop. And I ran into her, and I was like, Senator Warren, you mind if I have a photograph with you? And she's like, oh, thanks. I was like, congratulations on your election and stuff. And I'm like, under my breath, I'm like, I will oppose every goddamn thing you do in this city for as long as I'm here.
Well, I guess if the Chiefs get into trouble, they can appeal to Elizabeth Warren.
Another great one. Another great one. Oh God. But I mean, the arrogance of like thinking that the arrogance and the stupidity, like they're worried about they're going to raise their prices and stuff like that. Like what? Maybe go down to the Treasury. Maybe go down to the Federal Reserve if you're worried about prices raising, right? Like you're barking up the wrong tree. It's not the sandwich shops that are making us pay higher prices for food.
No kidding. I mean, the price of a sandwich is pretty darn high right now to
It's
begin
too
with.
damn
And I
high.
don't think it's any sandwich monopoly that's done that.
Mm-hmm. One listener texted in with a good question. They said, aren't private equity firms always a red flag? Just asking a question. Private equity just means like individuals with money. That's what it is.
I mean,
If you're a private
does it
equity,
matter? Like, I don't know.
I mean, it shouldn't. Like, but when you're a private equity firm, all that is a group of individuals who have a lot of money who pool their money to buy up resources. So, like, if you or I were rich and we decided to go into town and buy, Yanis's coffee zone across the street, right? We'd call that private equity. Private equity just means private money, right? It's not like a publicly traded corporation doing an acquisition. It's just like you and me privately taking our own. I think private equity is like superior a lot to like some of these publicly traded corps like BlackRock and others who, you know, they don't have the same fiduciary responsibilities. I think is probably what some of the concerns that people might have, but you know,
I mean, like, they're still in it to make money.
yeah.
So
What are you gonna do?
you're not going to run your businesses into the ground doing dumb things.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder. One listener texted in, Kim McCurry. She says that intellectual can seem to be only book smart now. That's true. I mean, there is a big difference, right? And it is because a lot of these people, and I think a lot of the anger at the elites is like an understanding that they do not they they have not lived lives like us. Most men live lives of quiet desperation, right? But truly, when you struggle in your life, when you have experienced poverty,
Sure.
and when you have had to lift yourself up out of that poverty, you realize how the world works in a way that people who have never had to struggle or worry about making ends meet, they will never understand. They will never understand how people like you and I feel. I will never forget what it felt like to be hungry when I was in New York City when I first moved there after college, and to be literally hungry and be like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get food? How am I going to make enough money? And to get my ass out to grab the one asset that I had, which was my guitar, and to go to the streets of New York City, and I played guitar in the subway of Times Square. It was so embarrassing because I would run into friends that I knew from high school and stuff. They were on their New York trips, and they're like, "Austin, how you doing?" I'm like, things
I'm
have
playing
changed
the guitar in a subway.
in Times Square. Yeah, you go play for a few hours and you'd make $50. And back then, $50 was 2005, I think, is when I was doing that. So those were the days of poverty, I would tell you. But then I came back and I managed to make it as a producer in New York. So I've seen it from the bottom, I've seen it from the top, and I'll tell you, those years, it's kind of like my losing presidential campaigns and my Senate campaigns, you learn much more from your downtimes, right?
Absolutely.
Than you do from the times that you were successful.
Right.
Right. Because a lot of times success can be dumb luck. And sometimes for dumb luck for these people like Elizabeth Warren and others, I doubt she's ever had to work. You know what? I bet you bottom dollar she don't eat at Subway.
Probably not.
No, I know the clubs that the senators eat at, and it's not Subway. They're not eating fresh. They're eating fresher than fresh. They're eating real footlongs at where it is that they're going to, the Capitol Grill. They're not eating where we are eating. They're not shopping where we are shopping. They have people who do shopping for them, like me, but mine's my wife.
That's
I know that's sexist. That's misogynist. That's racist. That's anti-Semitic. Oh my God, it's a great show. It's a great show today. And we're glad to have a huge audience here, courtesy of rumble.com. Thank you, Rumble. If you're listening to us this morning, they're down in Sarasota, Florida. You know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, Rumble's headquarters is down in Sarasota, Florida, so they're not experiencing the freezing ass cold that we are here in the Midwest. The Wake Up America show streams live from Jefferson City, Missouri. That's where I'm from, born in Independence, raised in Peculiar, not too far from a town called Liberty. I used to get attacked during my Senate campaign when I would say that, because people from Kansas City would be like, Liberty isn't close to Peculiar. And it's like, well, if you're in St. Louis, it is.
Yeah.
If you're in St. Louis, it is.
It's all relative.
It's all relative. Exactly. We'd love to have you join us here on the show every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time here on the program. Come back and join us by clicking that subscribe button before you leave today. And you can text the show anytime, night or day, at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. I've got a quick little clip that I want to play for you. Camille, you might have seen this already, but this is from the Daily Wire. This is their new movie. Did you hear about this? You're making that face.
In a world
You're making that face. Here it is.
where women's sports
It's called Lady
is
Ballers.
being transformed, the Daily Wire calls foul with the most triggering comedy of the year.
Oh my God.
Guys, this is serious. Sports can be your pathway to a better life.
Well, like yours?
Please don't steal my catalytic converter again. Winning matters. It's the key ingredient in becoming a winner.
Maybe you should try it sometime. Are you gonna move?
I am not.
Let's cut to the chase. I know you're not a woman.
Hey, you don't know how he identifies.
If you can beat them,
What do you know about the U.S. Opens for the Global Games?
You want us to compete as women. $5,000 prizes.
My lover says you were a great coach back in the day.
join them.
This is the way the world is now. My 8-year-old daughter told me all about it. So, a guy can become a girl with no physical changes at all.
Oh, that's called gender fluid.
So I can be a woman on the court and a man in the bedroom. I can't believe it. Nice!
You mean when you're sleeping?
Yes.
Coach,
Alex,
We could play basketball.
we'd have to get the whole team back together.
It's time
Funniest movie we might have seen in years.
I'm in.
to play
Lady Ballers. Mount up.
like a girl.
I'm with her. I'm in my truth. This is my truth.
They're like just
Day
destroying
one
these
of
women.
being a girl athlete. I love being a girl.
To sheroes.
we could dominate every
Heroes to
woman's
sheroes.
sport. Running, swimming, soccer. I said sport, Felix! It's ladies basketball, boys. Nobody watches.
Excuse me. Are these seats open?
Never mind.
Getting dunks. And tucking trunks.
And tucking
That's the biggest I've ever seen on a lady.
I don't care.
Lady Ballers.
One can even be trans age now, which provides Sheelix with a wonderful opportunity to relive all the experiences that she missed out on in school.
Streaming exclusively on Daily Wire.
Yes. Yes, let's give it up for the Daily Wire. This is what we need, Camellia. You were talking. Yes.
Yeah. No.
How is it? How is it? Like, if this movie becomes a hit, it is the begin. This is the death knell of woke Hollywood. If this stuff starts taking off and picking up, because here's the thing, that is saying what all of us have been thinking and what
Sure.
we have been seeing on a microcosm in a small way with like the Tia Jolie. What the hell's the name of the swimmer? The one that Riley Gaines competed against.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the transgender swimmer and all this kind of stuff. But like, I mean, and South Park has started to lampoon him too and stuff. But I mean, this is a full frontal assault.
Well, first of all, Jeremy Boring is brilliant.
Yes.
I mean, they've done some others, kind of smaller production things that have just been brilliant. But this is what needs to be done because it's well done and it's funny. And like even if you're not on the right, like I don't know how you can't not find that funny.
I mean, absolutely. Even like kids are going to watch that and be like, "Oh my gosh!" And I mean, listen, this is what we have needed. This is what I've been talking about. I want in on this stuff. This is what I want to get to. This is where I want to work to.
Yes, for sure. And this is funny because yesterday somebody tweeted this and tagged the Missouri legislature because this is last session we passed the transition surgery ban.
Right.
But I was thinking, a screening of this would be a fantastic fundraiser for candidates right now. Can you imagine?
That's a great idea.
There's so many possibilities.
Oh, for sure. If it's anywhere near as successful as the What is a Woman documentary that they put out, and which I think this will be more successful.
Oh, I would think so.
Because more people watch comedy movies than watch documentaries, for sure. This has huge potential to begin the cultural shift. I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
It's hilarious. I thought maybe it was a joke at first that it was actually a full-length feature, but I guess it's not.
No. And it was one of our listeners who texted that in to us this morning. We appreciate that. For our listeners who want to know how to text the show, you can do so at 573-319-1586. Again, that's 573-319-1586. One of our listeners sent that in to us this morning at 8 a.m. on the text line. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. It's a great chance for us to talk about that. And we're very grateful. Very briefly, before we move on, I do want to remind you that the Wake Up America show is brought to you in part by our friends over at Lear Capital, who, for the holiday, are offering you great deals on silver and gold. And I'd like to remind you today that if you are interested in securing your financial future, you would like a good time to make contributions to a Roth IRA is to put some gold and silver into your portfolio. Lear Capital offers an IRA with actual physical metals inside of it. So if you'd like to save towards your retirement, you want to get those contributions made before the end of the year, now's a great time to call my friends at Lear Capital at 1-800-885-2175. Again, that's 1-800-885-2175. And I know for a lot of millennials, like I'm a geriatric millennial, but if you're geriatric millennial and below, a lot of us tend to be phone averse. I get it. So they made a nice little website for you to sign up for more information about their gold IRA. It's learaustin.com. So if you do me a favor, make sure that you click learaustin.com, go to the website and just bookmark it while you're watching the show so you can fill out that information and get more info. They'll send you a free gold and silver information packet and learn about how to invest in actual physical metals, not paper like metals or anything like that, not certificates of deposit for gold, actual physical gold that you can take possession of at any time in a tax-advantaged way. But I know a lot of my listeners probably like to buy gold and silver directly and have it in their hands. I get it. You can also do that as well. They've got great prices, great deals all the time. And the best way to get the best price is to call them at that number, 1-800-885-2175. I endorse and recommend them to my family members. So you know that if I would recommend it to my mother-in-law, whose reputation I wish to have, a sterling reputation, good word there, sterling, right? then obviously it's safe for you as well. So I wouldn't, damage my relationship with my mother-in-law for anything. So please do give them a call today if you're interested in securing your financial future. If you don't have gold and silver in your portfolio yet, it's the kind of thing that you want to have, right? You want to have stocks, you want to have bonds, you want to have mutual funds, you want to have some ETFs, and you want to have a little gold and silver, and of course you want to have a little lead, and you want to have some iron and some guns as well. So 1-800-885-2175. Again, that number 1-800-885-2175, or visit learaustin.com.
So, and tis the season, because
Yes.
what were the three gifts from the wise men?
Silver and gold, and frankincense and myrrh.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
they brought gold.
They
You
brought
should too.
gold. Yes, they do. There you go. So give your presents, your gold to baby Jesus. It's all right. So let's move on to the next topic here. We haven't done any commercials today, Camellia. So other than that, like the actual live commercials, but let's see, what else did we have on
Well, you know how you were talking about, I mean,
Kitty.
using the, things like what the Daily Wire is doing
Mhm.
in combating these issues with humor and with art. And I know one of the stories that you had somewhere in the lineup was talking about how these companies that are instituting all of these DEI policies are backing off.
Yes, actually, that's the next headline that I have pulled up here. U.S. companies' diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts are losing momentum this year after the Supreme Court's June affirmative action ruling. The slowdown is a reversal from the explosion in corporate DEI after George Floyd's killing pushed companies to address racial inequality. 2023 has undeniably shifted the DEI landscape for years to come. External forces are no longer pushing companies to invest in DEI. Instead, in some cases, external forces are pushing back on companies' investments in DEI. This is exciting.
And I think we're seeing similar things with ESG, because those policies are terrible, and now they're getting the real life consequences, and that they are not working out. And with the DEI business, the lawsuits, like that's what it takes, is they have to start feeling the pain of being confronted with their own hypocrisy. That article talking about how that, some of the schools, after they reverse affirmative action, that some of the schools are then getting sued because of their what are literally racist policies. And so when I was reading or listening to the audiobook of the Moon is a Harsh Mistress recently, that was one of the things that struck me, was like, when he had grown up, on the lunar colonies all of his life, and he comes to Earth, and one of the things he's struck by is like how racist they are in their desperate attempts to not be racist. I think we see that, and like that's crazy.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's continue here. So in June, the Supreme Court struck down the affirmative action in colleges. Since then, the group that brought that case, American Alliance for Equal Rights, sued two law firms challenging minority fellowships that were open only to students of color, those who identify as LGBTQ plus, or those who have disabilities. The alliance argued the fellowships discriminated against other groups like white people, straight people, or those who do not have disabilities. Exactly. I love that people are fighting fire with fire. It's good to see. The group also sued a venture capital fund, the Fearless Fund, for investing solely in Black women. That is making its way through the courts. So firms have started revising their programs, broadening their criteria to all law students at a certain stage of school, and then the lawsuits are being dropped because of this. Another major law firm proactively changed its fellowship without being sued. The fellowships were meant to bring more minority law students into firms' hiring pipelines, as big law is among the least diverse professions. Interesting. In a letter to this summer, 13 Republican state attorneys general urged Fortune 100 companies to take another look at their DEI programs in wake of the court's decision. The letter takes aim at explicit racial quotas in hiring, recruiting, retention, promotion, and advancement. So, reading between the lines, the lawsuits and the letters are going to have significant downstream consequences for DEI for years to come. This report also says companies have deprioritized DEI as the hiring frenzy of the past few years has slowed, and the DEI backlash comes on the heels of another freak out over corporate ESG. Right, and then these terms have become weaponized and politicized. Good.
For sure. And I can't help but think like the libertarian take on this really should probably be to let companies do use whatever hiring practices they want as far as their policies on
It
who
should
they
be,
hire.
but
But right. I mean, because they have gone the other way with it for so long, I do understand. And I don't have a problem with people suing, for those same practices.
well, so for example, it's one thing for corporations. It's another thing for colleges.
Well, I was going to say that's the distinction. If you're getting government money for it, oh no.
Right. And now, like in terms of like free speech and stuff like that, I think about the social media, the lawsuits against social media.
Hmm.
They're not private companies when they are acting on the behest of government to clamp down on the free speech of conservatives and
Correct.
libertarians.
Yes.
So no longer can you say that Meta is just is the private company and can do what it wants. Twitter is a private company, can do what it wants, because we've seen how they act not only in concert with it. I mean, they were happy to work with the government, but the government was telling them what to do, telling them to clamp down on misinformation, telling them to clamp down on disinformation, what they called it, or telling them to clamp down on what they came up with a new term. Remember what it was? Malinformation,
Oh,
which is information that is true.
malicious.
Well, information that is true, but is damaging
Right.
to the administration.
Mm.
Imagine that, right? It's one thing to go after disinformation, right? Which, we could all argue over what is disinformation. It's one thing to go after misinformation. It's another thing to go after malinformation.
Mm-hmm.
So bad information that is true. It's
Yeah.
true.
That's scary.
Yeah, that's a scary term. That's a very Orwellian term. Malinformation. It's true. Yes, we admit it's true, but it's damaging to the reputation of the president. I mean, the way that we have seen the DOJ being weaponized against Donald Trump, the way that that Biden's administration, like the thing about Biden is he maybe this is all an act, this doddering old man thing.
Maybe.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. It's that. So you haven't finished reading that book, War Strategies of War? So have you started it?
No, I'm
Okay.
just bits and pieces.
It is part of Sun Tzu's strategy to appear weak.
Hmm.
It is part, like I'm reading the book of the Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. He was the greatest swordsman that ever lived in Japan, and he talks about being underestimated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is possible that the Joe Biden doddering old man thing, being underestimated, but actually being a very wily old snake, is possible. Because look what he's doing to Eric Adams. Like look at like how they have look at how they have. I mean, if somebody's pulling the strings behind Joe Biden, and that's possible too. I'm open to that possibility and stuff like that. Like they are. I mean, they are damn good, and I don't see a lot of efficiency from government typically in terms of it, because like it's really difficult to tell who is actually pulling the strings. I think it's entirely possible that Joe Biden really does want to be seen in some ways. Like maybe he is, but maybe he really is, doddering and having, problems and falling down and different things like that. But he might be playing that up, because when you see the way that they coordinated with social media, when you see what they've done to Trump and Eric Adams of New York, right, their own people, and the way that they crack down on their own people, harder on us, obviously. It makes you wonder just how competent the president might be. He wants us to think that he's incompetent. He wants us to think that he can't do what he's actually doing, when behind closed doors he's calling the shots and saying, hey, we need to bring this against Donald Trump, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think of that theory? Blow your mind?
I don't like that theory.
Yeah.
That would be worse.
Yeah, Barney Styles over in the chat says that Obama is pulling the strings. I've heard that. I don't know how much I would give to that theory, but Gwokas says that he thinks that it's dementia, that it's not an act. Yeah, I don't know. Malinformation is the title of my Firefly blog, says Clementine. I have no idea what that means. Leisha Wilder, our friend from Southwest Missouri.
Okay, I know what that means. You get it, Doug.
What is it?
Okay, so Mal is the character's name from Firefly, the show.
Oh, okay. is the title of my Firefly blog. It's not Doug, by the way, it's Doug.
No, I refuse.
Yes, it's Doug. Leisha Wilder, our friend from the Boot Heel, Missouri, she says affirmative action is like being eye candy. Get the initial attraction, but without anything to back it up. Folks move on if they don't get what they want. So there's this the Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. I've been preaching about these for years, and conservatives are finally starting to apply the rules for radicals. And there's the laws of the public policy process. I keep recommending these. This is for any conservative or libertarian activist. Public policy process. Here we go. Morton Blackwell's laws of the public policy process. And here's the thing: when it comes to DEI and ESG, let me see if I can find it in this. But I think one of the rules, because there's 45 of them, and I'll drop the link to them in the Rumble chat so you guys can look it over as well, see what I'm referencing. But make the steel more expensive than it's. Here it is, number 5. Make the steel more expensive than it's worth. So in some ways, I mean, he's talking about elections, right? But you could apply this to DEI and ESG, making the steel more expensive than it's worth. So making it more painful for them to institute DEI and ESG makes them less likely to do it.
Sure.
Right. So in that piece from Axios that I was reading to you about why corporations are backing off, one of the things that they said in there was that it's because we've weaponized and politicized the terms, right? So we have weaponized and politicized the terms DEI and ESG, kind of like we've weaponized the term woke.
Right.
Saul Alinsky's rules of radicals. Here we go. One of these things here too. This is another thing that we've done with it, and these are leftist socialists, and these are their rules. Here's one of them, and it's good that we're finally starting. These are nasty. These are dirty tactics, but they work. Here is one. He says that never go outside the expertise. Power is not only what you have, but your enemy thinks you have. Oh, here it is, number 13. Pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. This is what leftists have been doing for years. Number 13 on the rules for radicals list from Saul Alinsky, and this was the guy that inspired Barack Obama. Pick the target. What? You knew this?
Well, no.
What?
Finish it all, and then I'll have a thought.
Pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. We have successfully done this with the terms woke, DEI, and ESG. We have employed Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals successfully. We have turned the left's tactics against them, and we have fought fire with fire, and we are winning. We're winning.
So there's a book that I've been reading for a while. It's called Reclaiming the American Dream by Richard Cornell. And he's someone who started more probably center left, but he moved very conservative. And so it's one of those books that was written 50 years ago, but you turn every page and you're like, oh my gosh, it's just like today. And he talks about the dilemma of, how the government has taken over all of, it's a nanny state, right? And the independent sector, the private sector has stopped being responsible for things that happen in your local communities and taking care of your local communities. And we've let government have that role. And so he's saying, like, how do we do that? Because we know that the independent sector can do this much more efficiently. But there's some challenges and some obstacles to that. And it's really what's informed a lot of Americans for Prosperity's approach to things. But what was really interesting is that he was good friends with Saul Alinsky. And they collaborated on some projects in how you effectively do things at the community level. And so when you said that about Obama, that makes me think, I have been talking to people lately about this too, is that on the right, we don't like to hear that we should use some of these things that the left has been using.
Right.
But if we want to be effective, whether it's elections or whatever it is, in bringing people into our movement, in winning elections, no matter whatever it is, like, community organizer has become a dirty word because that's what, I mean, who do you think of when you think of community organizer? Think of Obama. And people are like, oh, but we did so for AFP, we did a training on grassroots advocacy here a while back. And one of the examples that they use in there is the Obama campaign and how effectively they did grassroots organizing and the lessons that we can learn from that. And so maybe we need to find a different word for it other than community organizer, but those are the things that we need to be doing if we want to be effective.
Yeah, well, we can call them precinct committeemen, right? Things like that, right? And the Republican Party has that. And
it's so like sterile, you know what I'm saying?
Well, community organizer, same thing.
I know.
All right, but still, Luke Saxer over on the Rumble live stream this morning reminds us that Hillary Clinton wrote her undergrad thesis at Wellesley on Saul Alinsky. So interesting. Jules State, Will Run Riot says he actually got to meet Jules State a couple years ago. I thought my wife was getting a little mad at me when she gave me a hug, and he didn't like that. Jules State, were you talking about Jules State? I don't know who it is. Okay.
Sorry, Will. We don't know who that is.
Yes. Kermode Bear says that there's an update to rules for radicals they're now using. Look up the Beautiful Trouble website. Okay, we'll do that, Kermode Bear. Thank you very much. Appreciate our buddies in the furry community. Rules for radicals. So pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, polarize it. We've done that very successfully. Trump uses a lot of these as well. And these are the leftist rules. I've got the conservative ones as well, which are terrific. I like this one. Power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have, right? So like making your opponents think that you're more powerful than you are can sometimes back them off or scare them from taking actions that they might have. This is one thing, like I like to call it saber rattling, right? To an extent. Never go outside the expertise of your people, right? Don't give people jobs that they're incapable of doing, that they don't have any expertise in. Whenever possible, go outside the expertise of the enemy. So if you know that somebody is really bad at public speaking, try and line up a series of debates, right? That was my strategy when I was like going after Gary Johnson and for Josh Hawley, for example, in 2018 when I ran against Josh Hawley. What was the one issue that I always constantly was hammering him on? Guns.
Yes, right. Yeah, and did he ever? I don't think he ever debated.
No, he never debated, but I gathered enough support to and made him look like a leftist on the gun issue. Because of his public statements in favor of bump stock bans through executive orders. So I really hammered him on that issue. And then, of course, I gave away bump stocks as part of my campaign and made it a big deal. So that was, and there was one picture of Josh Hawley where who's carrying a gun, and he was like, it was all brand new Carhartts. He was like pretending like he was out hunting. Right. It was one of these photo shoots, that they do to make it look like he was a country boy and stuff like that. This like Ivy League Yale guy who's never been in a field with a gun in his life.
Many such candidates.
Many such cases. So I went outside his expertise because I knew that I could attack him from the right on that. So that was kind of what I did.
Well, and with the gender transition issue and things like that, one of the things, so the woke issue, we've done all of the things that you've said, but the other component to that is the stories have been told. The people who have been damaged and harmed by those practices have come forward and they've told their stories. And so that is what ends up really putting that human face on the problem. Is really a lot of what turns the tide as well. I mean, we had some of those people who had detransitioned, who came to the legislature, the Capitol here in Jefferson City, and told their story to the legislature. And those things make a big difference, and your feelings care about the facts.
For the rules for radicals, a good tactic is when your people enjoy. So this is a good one. So if people are having fun, then they'll continue to do it. This one, I feel like I'm an expert in.
Okay.
The next one is number 5, and I use it often. Ridicule is man's most potent weapon. There is no defense. It is almost impossible to counterattack ridicule. Also, it infuriates the opposition, who then react to your advantage.
And they end up repeating the narrative, which you should never, ever do.
Yes. Yeah. It reminds me of Lyndon Johnson's pig effer. Here we go. The rise of pig effer politics. Did he or didn't he? Okay, here we go. Let me find the story. This is one of the oldest and most effective tricks in politics. Every hack in the business has used it in times of trouble, and it even has been elevated to the level of political mythology in a story of one of Lyndon Johnson's early campaigns in Texas. The race was close, and Johnson was getting worried. Finally, he told his campaign manager to start a massive rumor campaign about his opponent's lifelong habit of enjoying carnal knowledge of his barnyard sows. The campaign manager protested, Christ, we can't get away with calling him a pig effer. Nobody's going to believe a thing like that. I know, Johnson replied, but let's make the son of a bitch deny it.
That's just it. There's actually a really recent example of a congressional candidate who had to deal with this because there were rumors going around about her involvement with Wiccans. And they're saying that she was a witch and all this. And what does she do? She comes out and she makes a commercial or whatever in which first thing she says is, I am not a witch.
Yes.
She's like, oh, well.
Oh, yes. I am not a witch. I remember that. Christine O'Donnell. Yes. Perfect example. Yes. You get accused. It's kind of like, so on my Senate campaign, perfect example was because I liked the church of Satan on Facebook because I just wanted to follow what they were saying and stuff because they're funny. I got accused of being a Satanist. And so, and one night I was drinking with Neil and we got that and we thought we would be funny to do a live stream because he has a statue of Satan.
Yes.
And we thought it would be funny to be like, and have light a candle and make it look like we were doing it just as a joke. But Jeff, my campaign manager, talked us out of it. But it would have been
good for Jeff Carson.
Yes. So yes, but obviously that would have been the same kind of thing, right? I'm not a Satanist, I'm not a witch. But listen, that works.
Well, the difference would be in that you were mocking it. That's really where the difference lies, because you see this happens with candidates all the time. They get caught in a situation that's embarrassing, whether it's a fashion faux pas or whatever. And they either ignore it and try to make it go away, or they maybe get defensive about it. But really what they need to do is capitalize on it with humor, own it. I think that's the best thing you can do sometimes.
Good to know. So the show has been killer this morning. Thank you to rumble.com for featuring us on the front page. We're getting towards the end.
Are we really?
You got 15 more minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're getting towards the end. I just want to say thank you to rumble.com and to all of the 656 people who have stuck around and watched us this morning.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Huge numbers for us, and we're so grateful. And we'd love to have you come back and join us again tomorrow. Judge Napolitano is our regular Wednesday guest, and
best day.
Yes, that's when we get into big brain time, and we're grateful to have the judge as a regular guest. So please do us a favor and subscribe to the channel. Camelia, you're our regular Tuesday, Thursday guest, but we don't normally get you for the whole show.
No, I love it when I can come and be in studio.
Yeah, it's way fun whenever you get to be in studio. So I didn't book anybody else because I wanted to just hang out with Camelia and chat. But Camelia joins us at 8 a.m. Central Time every Tuesday and Thursday for a good 15 to 20 minute segment. And we just got lucky today. We got to have her in studio for the whole show. So if you'd like to come back and join us, then make sure you click that subscribe button before you leave today, because we don't want you to forget about us, because I know people are busy and you're probably getting your kids ready for school this morning. And you got a lot going on, and the last thing that you want to try and do is fiddle with your Rumble app or try and find that subscribe button. But if you would mind, just for me, just take the extra little few seconds that it takes to click that subscribe button so that we can be friends and we can hang out together every morning, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time here, where we stream the Wake Up America show. And if you're not in the live chat comment section, you're missing out, because there are some cool people. Obviously,
that's what I was going to say, is we have a great community, have always had a great community in the live stream chats. And there is on Rumble, I've noticed there is a spot where you can just make comments, and then there's the live chat. You want to be in the live chat. Yes,
the live chat is way more fun. The comment section is permanent. The problem with the live chat is that it goes away, which is sad.
Sometimes it's not problem.
Okay, good point. Yes.
Did I say that?
Yes. Good point. Good point. Yeah, we appreciate all of our listeners for joining us here this morning. Do please click like and subscribe. And don't forget too, when you text the show, you can do so even when we're not live. A lot of people do like to chat with me and send me text messages. And last night, my buddy Brian called on the phone when he pulled off the truck stop and was hanging out, on the phone. We were just chatting a little bit, and he was saying about how much he loves the show because when he heard us talking about Javier Milei, it just really made him feel optimistic and positive. And I know a lot of shows are all about doom and gloom and it's the end of the world and everything's crap and this is terrible. And we do like make fun of all the horrible, terrible things happening in the world. But we typically try and keep things light and fun and positive, and we talk about cultural things and we have a good laugh. We try and laugh here and to make it a little bit more fun. I'm not a comedian, but I think that we do manage to get good comedy moments out of this show every once in a while, don't we?
I think so.
Yes.
Nobody takes themselves too seriously, which is a good thing.
Exactly. But we do get serious guests. We do get big guests. And, I did reach out to the DeSantis people. They're very mad at me. I actually asked on Twitter because I wanted to make sure that we got our record straight. I was like, did Ron DeSantis congratulate Javier Milei? And they're angry at me. They're saying like, well, Austin didn't call to abolish the IRS, so that must mean that he's for the IRS. Pretty sure I've called to abolish the IRS a lot. But the DeSantis people are really feeling.
And the thing to do, like if they want to campaign like they're winning, the thing to do would be to come on the show. It would be to be everywhere, because that's the other thing Vivek has done well. He is freaking everywhere. Yes.
Let me tell you something. I reached out to the DeSantis people yesterday, okay? And because they're all like, you're not going to reach out to us and have us on the show. You're not going to reach out to us. I'm like,
why not? Absolutely.
Of course I am. I'm glad to have you guys on. And I'm going on John Burke's show today. He's the biggest DeSantis.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's the biggest DeSantis fan there is.
Yeah, he's a huge supporter.
That people are like, oh, you're afraid. You're afraid. I'm like, bro, the last thing I am is afraid of debating anybody on anything at any time. Like, you got no idea. And so, anyway, I reached out to the DeSantis campaign yesterday. Gloria is her name. Some guy by the name of Ferguson or whatever is, he's really like trying to roast my nuts on Twitter. And he wants to come on. So I reached out and they said they'll get back to me today. So
okay, cool. I hope they do. I think that would be good.
That's the strategy, right? That's what you DeSantis people are doing. And they probably think that I'm going to like try and like gotcha with him or something like that. But like
they don't know you then.
Yeah, they don't. That's the thing. Is the DeSantis people who are all attacking me, I think they're confused because they're like, they immediately equate any like criticism of the DeSantis campaign with like being for Trump.
Yeah.
No, it's just I like Vivek a little, and I'm not supporting any of the candidates in the primary at all. But I think that there have been some problems with the DeSantis campaign.
Sure.
And there's a reason why they're floundering as they are. So, like, I'm just like pointing it out, and they're very upset about it. I get it. So, anyways, I reached out to them. I'm hoping to have some DeSantis people on the show. And, I know that they're conservatives. They kind of remind me like Ted Cruz's from 2016. They're, principled conservatives.
Yeah.
Right. They don't like the behavior that they see out of the Trump campaign. We probably have a lot of the same issues with Donald Trump and his behavior and stuff. So there's a lot of overlap between DeSantis people and myself. But if you're going to criticize Vivek Ramaswamy, right, like you have to understand that like there's a reason why people like myself prefer someone like Vivek to Ron DeSantis.
Right.
And if you're going to call me stupid and say that I'm idiotic, then you don't understand or know what we're all about. Okay. Right. We're the Javier Milei wing of the Republican Party. Right. That's the Vivek Ramaswamy wing of the Republican Party. But we don't have to be a majority of the party to affect the outcome. All we got to do is keep you from getting the nomination. So please continue to heap scorn and ridicule on top of our heads, because I promise you that all you're doing is digging your own grave while all of us are saying we must hang together. We shall most assuredly hang separately, I believe they shall say. Is there anything else, Camelia, that you'd like to share with our listeners before we end the show today?
No, I'm just so happy you're all here. And it's fun to be in studio. And I really hope the DeSantis people come on, because I think that this dialogue, that's what this show is known for. If you're new here and you haven't seen the show very much, like dialogue with people that you don't agree with all the time, that's what makes this show different. And so I think that's, it's productive. It's good.
Dia asks, are we the cool table or are we the table that thinks it's cool but isn't? Probably the latter. Nerds. Nerds.
Cool table.
I think we're cool, but maybe we aren't. I don't know. I have no idea. Thank you so much to rumble.com for featuring us on the front page. You are changing our lives, and we're so grateful for that. Thank you to all of our listeners this morning and the 548 people who stuck around to the end of the show. You guys rock. You are awesome.
Have a great day, everyone.
Yes, and can we see you tomorrow? We'd love to. Please click and subscribe, like and subscribe,
I
and
won't
come
be
back
here,
tomorrow.
but I'll be in the chat.
Yeah, so Camellia is a moderator, so she will be hanging out there. She's a very rare Camellia, as you'll see from her screen name. And she will be back on the show on Thursday morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. So if you'd like to see CJ again, you get plenty of CJ time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tomorrow is Judge Andrew Napolitano. One last favor before I let you go. Visit apforlibertyshop.com. Now's a great time to get some holiday merch from the store and get some great gifts for your family. Yeah, the Martha's Mint coffee is absolutely delicious. We're drinking it right now. I got a big heaping spoonful of chocolate sauce in mine this morning, and I'm all hopped up and ready to rock the day. I hope you are as well and you enjoyed the content. Don't forget, visit apforlibertyshop.com for all your freedom needs, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Goose Lodge in Jamestown, Kansas, your home away from home. Choose the comfort and privacy of our individual rooms, each equipped with its very own locking door and en-suite facilities. Or bring the whole family and make memories in our communal space. Snuggle up on our plush recliners or share a meal around the dining table that comfortably seats 8. Our kitchen is armed with everything you need, from a microwave to a full-size fridge. For a bird's eye view, book the Eagle's Nest. Enjoy the privacy, storage space, and its very own toilet and shower. For just $450 a night, reserve the entire lodge. Perfect for reunions or retreats, accommodating up to 8 guests. And remember, Snow Goose Lodge is a haven for kids and dogs alike. So bring the whole family. Book your stay now and get 20% off your first booking using the code WAKEUP.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option. Crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.